Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to the Spurs Chat podcast. Now, this edition will be previewing the North London derby. What a huge fixture it is this Sunday at the Emirates Stadium, 2 p.m. kickoff live on Sky Sports. Now, I've got three very special guests to talk about the North London derby. Of course, going into the game, Arsenal are unbeaten in the Premier League. Spurs are unbeaten in the Premier League. Spurs sit second at the moment while Arsenal are down in fourth. Now, let's introduce our first guest. We have got Arsenal fan Kenny Kenny, lovely to have you here. How are you?
I've been looking forward to this for a long time because I've been watching your show for, I have to admit, I've got a confession, mate. I've been watching you guys for about 3 years and I watched quite a lot of your shows. I shouldn't because I've got no business watching your shows, but I've been watching them. I think, you know what? I've seen some of your suffering. I have to admit, there are times when I go behind like a sofa and have a little bit of a giggle because the way you guys talked about Conte last season and you talk about Mourinho. I mean, there was a bit of division amongst quite a few of you, but it's one of those things where I thought, you know what, this is a good podcast. So I met Chris about 2 years ago after North London derby. We won, of course, and I thought I've got to grab him now. Say, look, Chris, let's come and speak to my mates. They want to talk about the North London derby. You were shocked when I grabbed you, but I thought, hang on here. I was going to surprise you by telling you I've been watching it. But as I said before, absolutely looking forward to being on this podcast. It's a very, very good podcast. You're all diehard Spurs fans, and I'm diehard Arsenal. Another thing is that you know what I've got underneath here, but I'm just going to treat this as if I'm walking down Tottenham High Road, where you don't wear colours when you're walking down Tottenham High Road. Now, you invited me into your own, Chris. So my mum taught me, God bless her soul, she's not with us anymore, that when you go into people's houses, if they got nice carpet, don't walk on the carpet with muddy trainers. So I'm not wearing muddy trainers. I'm not wearing my colours. I'm guessing you're home. Let me have it.
Kenny, it's a pleasure for you to be here. I'll tell you what, if you're watching this podcast, I hope that you've been watching in the last couple of weeks because we've all been smiling.
Oh, it's funny that I was a bit busy that time. I watched it.
We'll certainly come on to talk about the good times this season so far. We've got Spurs fan Gary Maloney back with us. Gary, how are you?
Yeah, I'm really good, mate. Not too bad. I can second what Kenny says. I mean, I must admit, I get a lot of joy off AFTV. I absolutely...
Hey, Gary, I'm nothing to do with AFTV. AFTV, I'm just telling you now, does not represent Arsenal fans.
Well, let me tell you, it may not represent Arsenal fans, but I make sure everyone thinks it does, and I absolutely love it.
And that's why we hate AFTV.
And
that's why AFTV's hating.
I'll be honest, Ken, when I met with Chris at the YouTube Awards, Craig, you were there as well and stuff. Yeah. When I met Robbie, I met Troops, I met all the guys, and you know what, Lee Gunner, they were lovely. They were top lads and stuff, but I'll be honest with you, I get great pleasure if Arsenal lose watching AFTV. But listen, that's what it's all about, like what you said with the podcast. When Tottenham lose, you love it. I've got Chelsea fans that say, oh, mate, when Spurs lose, I love jumping in on the podcast and watching it. That's what football is about. It's banter, it's watching the other team suffer. And that's why you get such big highs and such big lows. So I just want to second what you said, because from a Tottenham fan to an Arsenal fan, I totally get it. I totally understand it. So fair play.
We've also got channel regular Craig Dearman back with us. Craig, how are you?
I'm all right, Chris. Yeah, I'm all right. Welcome, Kenny. We're a nice bunch. We are a nice bunch. And talking about...
I don't know you, but I've been watching you, and as I said, I've seen your emotions go from up there, down there, in the middle, and then a bit of confusion because you've got world-class managers, but you like I said, you give them more time than they deserve, and then now you've got age. I want to hate Ange, by the way. I want to hate him, but I like him, and it hurts me to say that I like him, and I fear him.
That's good. That's a good start, definitely, because we've all fallen in love with Ange very, very quickly. After we'll get into it, but 4 or 5 years of looking back, it's like being in a bad relationship, thinking, why was I in that relationship for that long? That's how it's kind of felt. And now you've got this wonderful person that's leading your club. And it would be, we'll get into it, but it'll be really interesting to get your take on are the Arsenal fans a bit more concerned about Tottenham now, if you put your hand on your heart? So yeah, really looking forward to this one, and lovely to meet you, Kenny.
Nice to meet you as well.
Kenny,
Nice
what
one,
have you made of Craig on the podcast in the last couple of years?
Hey, you know what? There's passion there. His passion is very considered. You know, I've seen all of you. I've seen Fat Boy. I've seen Fat Boy there. You know, and also you've got the guy with a rubber face that was on Britain's Got Talent. I support Spurs as well. I see all of them, and you know, it's one debate after another. I personally think that, obviously, being a North London boy, I've got Spurs in my family as well, and as far as I'm concerned, the biggest game of the season is Tottenham, home and away. You're our rivals, all right? Not Man United, not Chelsea. It's Tottenham. Always Tottenham for me. Don't listen to these youngsters who went to school, you know, in North London, and they were friends with some Man United fans. And because they're Man United fans, used to give them stick. They're now thinking that Man United, they hate Man United more than Spurs. Any Arsenal fan who hates Man United and Chelsea more than Spurs deserves to be rounded up around Crouch End, because I'll keep it neutral for you lot, and have stones thrown at them. It's top, always Spurs. Right now, come Sunday, I'm like a little kid now. I've got knots in my stomach. I've got all sorts of aches. I can't wait. I watch every video of every past Arsenal Spurs game. Come on, man. It's Tottenham, not Man United. Not Liverpool. Spurs. It's your lot. I want to beat you guys.
Yeah,
same. Yeah. Kenny, let me tell all of the listeners and viewers, and tell Gary and Craig as well, that just literally minutes after you came out of the Emirates yesterday, you were emailing me, messaging me, saying we've just had our best performance of the season.
Yeah.
Was there any need for that?
Yeah, because it wasn't to wind you up, but what it was to do is just try to get you going. You know, because you know right now you're riding like a crest of a wave. You know, like I said, the sun is shining. You guys are making fantastic football, and you'll come to our ground with a lot of confidence. And I thought it was good timing that we had our best performance of the season, because, you know, let's face it, this season we've been up and down in terms of, like, we're doing enough to win, but we're kind of lost sight of it. We're still conceding quite a lot of goals at home. You know, we still got a goalkeeper problem, which we solved by getting Raya. We still got a situation where we got a problem with, you know, the midfield. Havertz, you know, I don't know what you guys think of Kai Havertz, but he's causing a lot of division amongst Arsenal fans. Yeah. You know, some Arsenal fans think, what the hell have we bought here? Why is he in the team? They've been blindsided at it. And other Arsenal fans want to give him a chance. At the moment, if you look through all our games this season, we've been carrying him. Big time been carrying him. Declan Rice is another problem for us, that he's playing so well. But do you pay £105 million for a player, for a number 6? Surely you want him to play in the number 8 position. So you've got a settled style of play where, you know, all the boxes are fitting well. You're playing a very, like, what I call like an inverted way of playing with a bit of a difference. You're now playing in a way that it's all about giving Maddison more time on the ball. For instance, you've got, you know, Sarr, you've got, like I said, you've got Bazuma. They're the athletes, they're his bodyguards. So that gives Maddison enough time to pick a pass, hit it long, hit it short, or get in the box. That makes you dangerous, because you're now, not only are you inverting, you're playing aggressively and you're getting bodies forward in a way that is scaring me. That's why I'm taking you seriously. That's why I've got lots of time, because we get it now. But the litmus test for Spurs is that last season you had similar results, but you had a lot of brinkmanship. You were like winning in the 90th minute when you were back a couple of goals down. This season you're playing good football. But the question I've got for all three of you, are you going to replicate that at the Emirates? Because if you beat us this Sunday and you beat Liverpool next week, I'll rate you. I'll be scared, because that's a test. You're playing well, but can you go to the Emirates and win for the first time since 2010? Because I was there. I got eczema. My eczema came up after you beat us, because I didn't see it coming. We're winning 2-0.
Stress.
Then Gareth Bale and you know Gareth Bale and that. I don't even want to mention the guy who got the win. I hate him like a passion. But that's the thing. That's the litmus test for Spurs. You're caught between one stall. The stall of we're in transition, you know, getting in Europe be okay, but you're playing this good football. So you may want to go a bit further, because if you beat us next week and beat Liverpool, you've got no choice but to talk about, well, maybe we could challenge, because games that you need to win to challenge.
Gary, let's come to you on that point, because Kenny says there about Spurs winning at the Emirates. The last time we won there, and the only time we won there in Premier League competition, 2010.
Yeah.
The time before that Arsenal away was the first Premier League season, 92-93, just days before they played the FA Cup. So they put a weakened team out, and we beat them there. So we've only beat them away twice in Premier League history. What is Tottenham's problem with going away to Arsenal, in your opinion?
I think it's psychological, because we've gone there when it's not even been a good Arsenal team, and we've been playing better football, and we've just never showed up at the Emirates, you know. And this is what Ken's saying. Like, I'm not, you know, as a Tottenham fan, I think a lot of Spurs fans are probably the same at the moment. I don't think many Spurs fans are getting carried away about going to the Emirates on Sunday and getting a win, because it was the same thing last year. Admittedly, all right, we went unbeaten, but we rode our luck. The results weren't great, but we went to Arsenal and absolutely turned us over. You know, home and away. Yes, the year before we done them at ours, which was great. But when we go to the Emirates, it's a psychological barrier. It doesn't matter how bad or how good Arsenal are. At the moment, we're pretty level pegging. There's not much between us, right? But I just hope we don't see the same Tottenham team. It's like when we go to Stamford Bridge. It's pretty much bang on the same when we go to Emirates, when we go to Stamford Bridge. Chris, you know, you've been to every single bloody away game. You've seen it yourself. And it's like a psychological mentality block. Listen, you know, I don't want to like be defeated or anything like that. But what I would say, I just want the team to go there Sunday and don't give Arsenal too much respect. Go out there and play your football. If we lose, what we play front foot attacking football and we go for it, I'll take that. What I don't want to see is us lay back and get hammered 2-0, 3-1 like we've been doing the last few years. It's just not acceptable, mate. I think we should go there and give them a good game, you know. Yes, I would love a win. And I know a lot of Tottenham fans are saying, you know, already before the game. I know what Arsenal fans are like. Arsenal fans are saying, we got to win that game and that's it. There's no Arsenal fans saying they'll take a draw at the moment. It's only Tottenham fans saying they'll take a draw. But I would rather win that game or lose trying. We've just got to go for it, Chris. I don't want this sitting back and giving Arsenal too much respect. We do it when we go to Arsenal. We do it when we go to Chelsea, and we do it when we go to Liverpool. Those three sides, it happens every year. Now, admittedly, we've been very, very unlucky at Anfield, and we should have got something. But you can't even say we've been unlucky at the Emirates, Chris. If you look at our past sort of 13 years results, we've not really deserved anything. We've got one draw in there, and to be honest with you, we weren't even great in that game. So we really need to up our levels. If we lost that game 1-0, 2-1, 3-0, whatever, but we actually went for it, I'll take that. But of course, I want to win, because 13 years is far too long. You know, he talks about 2010. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. You go back to 1990 for Chelsea. You know, Liverpool, Anfield, when was that? I mean, these sort of things. If you're going to be talking about winning trophies or challenging for the Premier League, you can't be going to the Emirates for 13 years in a row and not beating them. When you've got little clubs going there and beating them, let's be honest about it. We need to turn them over in their own backyard. That's what we need to do.
Craig, let's come to you. The mood is extremely high amongst the Tottenham Hotspur fans at the moment. And Kenny rightly said, you know, we had some dark times over the last couple of years, particularly under Jose Mourinho, Nuno Espirito Santo, Antonio Conte, Stellini, Ryan Mason's taken charge a couple of times. Postecoglou's come in. You know, the atmosphere at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium in our 2 home league games so far has been unbelievable. The atmosphere in the away end for the 3 league games that we've played so far in the Premier League has been unreal. Are you expecting a result, i.e. a win on Sunday?
I'm feeling better about the game having seen us play the first 4 fixtures, I must admit. Last season, I wasn't expecting anything. I don't think I would have come on here and said we're going to win, because I never thought we would beat Arsenal, to be honest. We just weren't good enough. We weren't at the races. And let's face it, the better team won on the day. You cannot deny that. And the better team has won this fixture many times since 2010. And that's sadly for us been Arsenal. And it's difficult to say that because you are our main rivals. I detest Chelsea, to be honest with you, Kenny. But obviously Arsenal are our rivals, our main rivals, and that's the game that we all look for. It's the first one that you look for when the fixtures come out, the home and away. If I'm being honest, I would have preferred this fixture another month down the line. I think we would have stood. I would have been a lot more confident that we would have approached the game with a better chance.
Just very quickly, sorry to butt in. You say another month, but would you rather it be at our ground first?
I think in this fixture it doesn't matter. Ideally, I personally want to get the away fixtures out the way in the first half of the season, because then you have to play them at home in the business end. But that's just personal choice. I would have preferred the game another month or so into the season, but look, it is what it is. We haven't got the fixtures all-time top scorer Harry Kane anymore with 14 goals, so that I'm sure you're going to be happy about that. Having said that, we are scoring goals from different positions. Ange Postecoglou doesn't seem to be bothered that he's not playing with an out-and-out number 9, even though Harry Kane wasn't an out-and-out number 9. He was the one that tended to always get a goal against you. So I'm sure the Arsenal fans are going to be pleased to see the back of him. But, I think we've got a very good chance of going there and going back to what Gary's saying. This attacking football that Ange plays, you've only got to listen to what he said. He's not going to, we don't stop. He will not settle for us sitting back. We will not be sitting back against you. And that's why I think this has got the makings of an absolutely cracking game, because we beat United and people can say, yeah, they're one of the big teams. United haven't been particularly good this season, I don't think. So for me, this is our first real test. Because with all due respect to all the other teams in the league, these games against the likes of Chelsea, against Arsenal, against Liverpool, City, for some reason, bizarre reason, we seem to do well against City all the time. But these are the games that really get me up for it and get excited, because, as I say, with respect to the other teams, you kind of expect to win. I'm sure, Kenny, you get that with Arsenal. You go to something like a Sheffield United or a Burnley or something like that, and you expect the result, and if it's anything but a win, then you're really, really fed up with it. But these are the games, and if you want to challenge at the top, these are the sort of games that you've got to put in a performance, and we've got to start winning at your place. Personally, I would take a draw, but we've got to start winning, as you say, and if we can somehow get a win at your place and against Liverpool, one game at a time, but then that's when I will be, really starting to believe it, because I really believe in Ange, and I really believe in this team at the moment, because we've got something that we haven't had for ages, which is this togetherness. And that's not just the team you can see, it's through the fans, the whole club. Ange has united this club, something that needed to happen, and he's done a fantastic job so far. But I just can't wait for this game on Sunday.
Kenny, let's come to you. I think you will understand some of the struggles, because, of course, a lot of neutral fans thought that Arsenal were going to win the Premier League last season.
Let me just get this out. We're all men here, right? We absolutely bottled the league. Don't buy into the pork shops in the media who are going to go around and start saying, at the beginning of the season, you'd been out your second. You're having a laugh. We were dominating the league for 93% of the season. If you dominate for 93% of the season, you go and win the bloody thing, don't you? We bottled it, Chris. So let's just get out of there.
I'll tell you, I'm really warming to this Ken Geezer here. I really do like him.
Look, you think the reason why you've got me on here, right? You could have got any other Arsenal fan, and they could have just gone around, the playground of Christ the King in Tottenham Park and said, we all agree Arsenal are magic, Spurs are tragic. I'm a big man. I'm here to talk football like me and talk about the game and be a realist.
Yeah.
Kenny, you're here for a reason. You're here for a reason. We've
got the league, and I think that's why I had to sort of stop you and get that in, because I don't want people to think, because I'm livid about us. I haven't got over not winning the league. I'm telling you now, I'm not being arrogant, not thinking I'm better than Spurs. When you're in that position, you've got to win it.
Yeah.
Kenny, what's the expectation amongst the Arsenal fan base for this season? Because, of course, Arteta has said that, the Champions League, we're not in it just for the numbers. We want to go far in the competition. You've spent big again in the transfer window, Declan Rice. what's the expectation amongst the Arsenal fans? Do you expect to really push City this year and perhaps win the league?
100% right. 100% right. He's got his team now. There's no excuses. This trust of process, silliness and nonsense was a case of where he thinks the team is involved. The minute you start challenging for the league last season, the process is over. You are now one of the big teams in the Premiership, and probably if you're a big team in the Premiership, you're a big team in Europe. This season, I look at it this way. I'm going to be blunt with you guys. 30 years without winning in Europe, 20 years without winning a title, 4 years without winning a trophy. I'm sorry, Mr. Arteta. You don't deliver a trophy, then we need to look again at, whether you're the right man for the job, because you've got all the resources there. You've got the number one you want in David Raya, because I'll tell you now, Aaron Ramsdale's not a number one. He's one of the reasons why we probably didn't win the league, because his kicking is so awful. His distribution is embarrassing.
Yeah.
He sorted that out and got his number one. He's got a situation there where we are spending £105 million on a player, paying £65 million on Havertz. We've now got a big squad that can cope with both competitions. He has to deliver. Now, there's going to be a few Arsenal fans, and I say it bluntly, who are going to say different. They've got reasons for saying that. Maybe they're friendly with a club, and that they feel, well, yeah, maybe we can get the club might invite us to, the shareholders meeting, or might get me on Sky Sports to represent Arsenal, and I'm the biggest Arsenal fan. You've got to say as it is.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter resources. You have to win a trophy. You've got to challenge the league. Yes, City are the best team in the country. Yes, City rivaled the great Liverpool sides of the 1970s and 1980s, and Man United's Sir Alex's Man United. But with the resources we have to change. Anything else is a failure. That's not putting Spurs down, not putting Chelsea down. It's just doing my eye test and the team we've got and the resources we have. There's no excuses now. There's no process. Simple. We've got to win a trophy. FA Cup, League Cup, Champions League, Premiership. I'll take anyone. I'll take it. I was going to say, you're going to say, will he take the League Cup? Yeah, I might.
We'll take anything right now.
Well, you're not in the League Cup anyway, so you've blown that trophy anyway. But, Arsenal have to win a trophy. We have to win in Europe. I'm not saying we're going to win the Champions League, but 30 years without winning in Europe is an embarrassment. You've got a better record than us in Europe. West Ham have won the same amount of European trophies as us. West Ham. So I'm just doing the eye test. We have to win something this season. We don't, then of course I'll be calling for Miss Arteta to be replaced with justification.
Kenny, let me ask you about Spurs in recent years. Daniel Levy in the fans forum a couple of days ago said that it was a mistake hiring two win-now trophy managers. Of course, we've gone back to our DNA, playing attacking football on the front foot, and Postecoglou's come in. Some fans were very worried about the appointment in the summer. I think when fans went away, done their research, they realised that this guy is the real deal. He's managed for many, many years, been successful everywhere he's gone. Hasn't managed in a top 5 European league before Spurs, but everyone is fully on board right now. What have you made of the appointment, and what have you made of Tottenham over the last few years?
Well, let's not forget, over the last few years, you finished above us. Let's not forget, you had a fantastic team under the Poch, where he had all the ingredients to actually challenge and win trophies, but you got a bit unlucky because when you played the FA Cup semi-final in 2017, you played against Chelsea going for the league. Good team. And then the year afterwards, when you got the semi-final, you played a very good Man United team. And then when you got to the League Cup final in 2015, before that, you played a Chelsea team who's going to win the league. And then in the Champions League final, you played Liverpool. So in layman's terms, you've come really close. You had a fantastic team. I mean, there was one time in 2017 where you finished behind Chelsea with 6 points, but all your players, Eriksen, Song, Kane, Ali, all scored about 15 goals or more. So it's not a case of you haven't done well, but the problem is that when it came to that second level, in terms of going for that league, Levy didn't spend the money. And then what happened is that you went kind of backwards. Like, even though you got the Champions League final that year, you're already in a bit of decline. Kane wasn't fit for that final. You know, who's going to tell Harry Kane, your best player, that, oh yeah, by the way, you're not 100% fit, you're not playing that final? Whoever does it deserves a medal, because I wouldn't be able to do that. And then, so that for that season, you really getting really close. And I think what the football you're playing is that you played a very like pressing game where you strangled the opposition. Dele Alli was getting forward in a kind of Frank Lampard way, playing his best football. But what was happening is that you didn't evolve the team, you weren't enhancing that. And then you've got the two world-class managers. And let's face it, hindsight is 2020. If someone told you that you're getting Conte and Mourinho, you would have been jumping with joy, because they're winners.
Yeah.
They won one's won the Premiership, won it everywhere. The other one's won 2 Champions League finals. You don't say no to those managers. But the problem is, those managers thought they were doing you a favour by being there.
Yeah.
There was no way that they worked their nuts off to build something at Tottenham in order to evolve as a team and then eventually challenge. When you get managers like Mourinho and get managers like Conte, they're managers for the finished article when you've got world-class players already, and then they teach you how to win. But if you're getting managers to try and build something, it's not happening, you know. And that is the problem you've had. Another problem you've got at Chelsea. Sorry, Chelsea. Sorry about that. Spurs, is that you got 2 problems. One's called Daniel, the other one's called Levy. I don't care what anyone says. That's your problem. He's never ever going to spend the money you need in order to compete with the big boys. So he's always going to do it on a cheap. Like, for instance, you can have a great season with Ainge, and then Ainge is going to knock on the door and say, right, to get us into the next level where we can challenge on a regular basis, I need A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And Levy said, well, I can't afford A, B. I can't afford all of them, but I can give you A and B. That's not enough. Because and that's the problem you got at Spurs. You got the fan base. When I was growing up, the big 5 clubs in the 80s were Tottenham, Arsenal, Everton, Liverpool, and Man United. If this doesn't work at range, you're going to be another Everton. Because remember, Everton won the FA Cup in '95. They've won nothing since. All right, they're catastrophic. They're going to get relegated. But for a club of your size, you have to win a trophy. That's why I was shocked at your lineup against Fulham. But
don't start me on that.
Going on Spurs, unless that was the time when you should have been challenging on a regular basis under Poch, and then he sacks the Poch, and he gets to 2 world-class managers. I think with Ainge, a lot of people look at Ainge and they don't know Ainge. They just look at an Aussie and they think, right, Aussies and Americans don't know football. But you go Ainge, he's gone all over the world and he's won things. Yeah. He's an ambitious manager, and his dream was to manage in Europe with the Premiership. He's not going to settle for that. Trust me. He probably feels that if he does a good job at Tottenham, if Real Madrid come calling, he'll go Real Madrid. That's the manager you need. But you're only going to be able to progress if Levy moves it up. Like, for instance, you've got a team that, who knows, maybe they're good enough to get in the top 4, maybe they're good enough to challenge. But the next season, you've got to be better. You know, not settle level. And that's what Levy didn't do. Under the Poch, you kept the same players, but you didn't evolve. Another problem you've had as well was the Harry Kane situation as well. Under Mourinho and Conte, you didn't have a midfield. You had Bentancur, but he got injured. So what was happening is that your best player was also your Peter Beardsley, and then Ian Rush. But in terms of your midfield, when we played you at White Hart Lane last season, I still call it White Hart Lane. We had so much space in that midfield because you didn't have midfield. And this is the area where this season, especially when you play us against Sunday, that midfield is going to be a key area. You're going to need, Bazuma and Sarr to work their nuts off in order to sort of like win that battle. You win that battle, you've got half a chance because you've got runners like Song's playing good football. Last season, Song was half fit. This season, he's fully fit. You've got Kulusevski, who's been a revelation for me. I rate him highly. Richarlison, I don't know where you bought him, but you know your club better than me. I'm just a voyeur. You probably see something I don't see. You bought Minor Solomon as well, Fulham on loan. Israeli international. Again, if you're going to challenge next season, you've got to get better than Richarlison and Minor Solomon. That's the key. And that's one of the reasons why he stagnated and now got backwards, because you're not spending this.
Gary, let me come to you on that exact point that Kenny's mentioned there. In a recent interview that actually come out today, Daniel Levy, and it wasn't the Fans Forum, it was another interview. He said, we're not a club that can buy success. Now, the way that I see it, and I want to ask you the question of, what do you think the real difference is between Spurs and Arsenal at the moment? Because what I see in the summer, when you're going out and spending £105 million on Declan Rice, and I know Daniel Levy even said in the Fans Forum and in the fan advisory board minutes, it's not all about spending big money on big players, because sometimes it doesn't work. Tanguy Ndombele, Giovanni Lo Celso is a perfect example there. But do you think that Spurs, with Daniel Levy running Tottenham, do you think that we will ever be title contenders, going out, splashing the cash, showing real intention? Because it's sad for me to say, that's exactly what I feel Arsenal are doing at the moment.
They are, and I have to touch on what Ken said, because annoyingly, I like Ken, and I think he talks a lot of sense. The way he said about Ange, it hurts me to say, but he's an Arsenal fan that talks a hell of a lot of sense. And you know our club probably better than what some Tottenham fans do, mate. You speak a lot of sense, you really, really do. And I just want to echo what you said, because that is the issue, Chris. As long as we have Daniel Levy, listen, look, Maddison I love. Maddison is like a new age Paul Gascoigne. He's amazing. But again, we only got Maddison because Leicester got relegated and we got him for 40 million. Daniel Levy's not going to go in for a player for 105 mil like what Arsenal done. Liverpool, when they lost that Champions League final against Real Madrid, that was it. Goalkeeper come in. Van Dijk, it strengthened. Ken talks about, he's spot on. First of all, Ken, you mentioned about the Champions League final. That still haunts me now. You talk about you not winning the Premier League. That still haunts me. And I to this day, still believe if we played Lucas Moura in the final, we would have won it, because Kane always needs 2 or 3 games when he comes back from injury. So that in itself, and I don't know if Daniel Levy was involved in that to make Harry Kane play, being the England captain and being an English player and stuff, that all plays a part, But going back to what you said, Chris, I don't think we will ever go fully out and go for them players and strengthen fully like we need to, because of Daniel Levy. And look, I watched, the supporters thing the other day, watched a whole hour and a half, 2 hours, whatever it was. And as you know, they're all structured questions and everything else. But ultimately, the answers that he's giving doesn't really give you much hope or positivity going forward. They're just structured questions and it's the same old answers. So it's like what Ken said, A, B, C, D, and F. He might get in A and B. And then the rest of the ones he's going to negotiate. And also, I get what he's saying. I've spent money here and there, but you need to do something with your scouts, your coach, your recruitment, because some of them players we've got in have been absolutely useless, and it goes back to that as well. You got to make the right signings. You shouldn't be buying a Sanchez for 45 bloody million. I mean, when you look at it, we paid more for Sanchez 5-6 years ago than what we've paid for Maddison now. Just let that sink in for a minute, because that's absolutely ridiculous. You look at Ndombele, 65 mil or whatever. Now, look, I would say with Ndombele, there's a player in there, he's just lazy, but he does have technical ability. But in regards to Sanchez and that signing, when you're talking about from 2017, the players didn't change much. When you got Dyers and Sanchez's and you're going for players like that in your team, we're not going to win nothing, And then when we do get to a Carabao Cup final where we have a big opportunity, he sacks the manager a week before. I mean, that says it all. Like what Ken touched on earlier, which, again, is why I say to Ken, I can't help but like him, and it annoys me because he's an Arsenal fan. But this happens a lot with me, because some Arsenal fans, not all of them, but some of them, talk sense, especially the old school ones. And again, he's done some stupid decisions and stuff with the club. And do I have 100% faith in Daniel Levy? No. Do I think we can win something this season? I did before he made 9 changes in the Carabao Cup. I don't care what Ange comes out on TalkSport and in that fans meeting and says. I don't want to hear, well, we're a club striving for more than that, and I'm looking at the bigger picture and I want us to be in top 4 and I want to win this and I want that. Listen, top 4 every season. I remember when Arsenal used to get in top 4 every season and Arsene Wenger was getting grief for it. At the end of the day, we ain't won a trophy since 2008. Go out there and win the Carabao Cup. You get that done, you still got the rest of the season to end. That builds confidence and you go on from there. You get the monkey off your back, you win the Carabao Cup, and then you can carry on from there. And if we ended that season winning the Carabao Cup and finishing 10th, are you telling me Spurs fans wouldn't be happy? If they wouldn't be happy with us winning a trophy and finishing out of the top 4, then I don't think they're proper Tottenham fans. Because a trophy is a trophy, whether it's the Carabao or the FA Cup. But if you make 9 changes in that team that's facing Fulham, you deserve all you get. And unfortunately, like what Ken said, that's why I don't have a lot of faith in Daniel Levy and in Tottenham yet. Because if they're capable of making a stupid decision like that and making that many changes, who knows what the future's going to hold, you know?
Gary, when I bumped into Spurs legend Paul Miller the other day at the Tottenham Stadium, I asked him that exact question. Do you think that Spurs and Ange Postecoglou will take the FA Cup seriously? He seemed to think that they would. Do you think they will? And what is your, you know, having had this fairly good start in the Premier League so far, I know, of course, we've got a couple of huge games coming up. As Kenny mentioned, you know, Arsenal away, Liverpool at home in the next 10 days or so. But what are you expecting in terms of league position? What would be successful for you?
I can't see us finishing any higher than 6. I think 6 will be the highest we'll probably finish, if I'm honest with you. I think we'll play really good attacking football, but I think, you know, there's going to be the usual suspects that we're going to lose. As much as I want to turn Arsenal over, I think that's going to be our first defeat of the season, annoyingly. I wish it wasn't, but it probably will be. I don't think we're going to get anything when we go to Anfield. And that's why I think it was crucial that the Carabao Cup against Fulham, we went all out of our strongest team and we progressed in that. Because when we do trip up in league games, which we will, we're still progressing in these domestic cups. And wins prove confidence. And you know, maybe if we had beaten Fulham or in the next stage, maybe we could have gone to the Emirates or the Anfield with a slightly more better winning mentality. But I don't care what no one says. Yes, we've been good in the league and everything else. But do not forget that we have lost to Fulham in the Carabao Cup. Do not let that slip past you. And do not underestimate that competition and say it doesn't mean anything. Because let me tell you, we are not good enough to say the Carabao Cup is not good enough to win. We are Tottenham Hotspur, mate. And that's a massive trophy for us. And every Tottenham fan needs to understand that us going out of that and making 9 changes is unforgivable. And Kenny, you've just relifted all my anger with it.
It's funny, on this podcast so far, we've got Kenny being very complimentary about Tottenham. We've got Gary saying Arsenal are going to win the North London derby on Sunday. Yeah. Craig, we better come to you.
They don't.
Craig, let me ask you, what Arsenal players would get into the Tottenham team and what Tottenham players would get into the Arsenal team?
Oh, that's a question, isn't it? Declan Rice would push for a place, I think, in our team. Saka.
Yeah.
Who are they replacing?
Well, this is it. Yeah, I don't know. One of our players would have to be injured at the moment. Because if you'd asked me this...
These are not meant to be easy questions.
No, but do you know what? I'm getting back. Do you remember? I think you probably asked me this question, or were we doing it that long ago? Going back to the kind of pre-Champions League final, I think it was a genuine question on one of the Sky programs, and at the time there was no Arsenal players. I think everybody agreed no Arsenal players would have got in the Tottenham 11 when we had Alderweireld, Vertonghen, Kane, Son, Ali, you know. And you couldn't really argue with that. Last year, I think probably half the Arsenal team would have got in our first 11. I think Saka's a fantastic footballer. Would he replace Kulusevski? If I'm hand on heart, he probably would. Declan Rice, would he come in for Pat Matasar? As much as I love Sarr, I'd say yes. I think he would probably get in over him. Goalkeepers, although I wanted David Raya, having seen Vicario now, I think he's a cracking goalkeeper, and so I would personally just go with Vicario, even though Raya is a more known element, if you like. I don't want to put too many Arsenal players in because that makes me sound defeatist. But there's 2 for you, 100%. And Martinelli, I think he's a great player as well, but I couldn't put him in over. Let's say Son is going to be playing on the left. So definitely those 2 for me probably would. Kenny would probably have about 9 others, I would imagine. But I'm just looking after my own interests in my own team here. So it's a very difficult question, that one.
Kenny, let's come to you on that same question. What Spurs players would get into your Arsenal starting 11? Because even former manager Tim Sherwood the other day said none of them.
Oh, Tim Sherwood. Well, Tim Sherwood, I've got beef with him because I swear to God, that guy is the biggest gooner out there, and he threw some at it. I mean, who else, be interviewed by Match Weekly back in the 90s and saying, what was the best moment of your life? Oh, Alan Sunderland scoring in the 1979 FA Cup final. Then all of a sudden he joins Spurs and he denies he's a gooner. But then again, I'm a guest in this, so I don't want to state me welcome. But, I've got issues with Harry Kane. I mean, he was one of us. And now he's singing that song, he's one of our own. I mean, I don't know what song's worse. The Harry Kane was one of our own, or that North London Forever song, but that's another story anyway. But saying that, song scares the living daylights out of me. Do you know how much I respect Song? I like Song. I love Song. He's one of the most underrated players in the world. His stats since he's been at your football club, especially in the last season, have been world class. Yet he goes under the radar a bit.
Yeah.
For me, don't. He can play. He's the only player I know who's equally good on both feet. His heading's not the best, but he's got pace. He can play down the right. He can play down the left. He can play with his back to goal. He can play up front. Song all day long. I'm taking Song all day long. A year ago, I would have taken Matt. A year ago, when Martin Odegaard wasn't fulfilling his potential, I would have gone Maddison over Odegaard. But Odegaard's playing some really good football at the moment. Benjamin White ain't a right back, but Porro is. And I do like the look of Porro, so I probably would have Porro in the head of Benjamin White. Sorry, in terms of defence, I like Moreira. I do rate him, but Saliba's playing really, really good football at the moment. And I think the partnership of Saliba and Gabriel is up there, in terms of the teams in the Premiership. Song. So basically, I'll have Porro. I'll have Song. I'm not a big fan of Zinchenko defensively, so I'll probably like torn between him and Udogie. But in terms of like playing that inverted way, because you play in inverted fullbacks as well as us, I think I'll have Zinchenko just slightly ahead of Udogie, because Zinchenko, from an attacking point of view, would give us more. So the two players I'm having Porro and I'm having Song. I'm tempted to have Romero, but the thing with Romero, he plays in the same centre-half position as Saliba. I can't leave Saliba out. So it's going to have to be more. I haven't seen much of Van der Ven. He's very untried, so it's got to be two players at the moment. But I am tempted with Romero, but sorry, I can't leave out Williams and Saliba.
Well, I knew Richarlison didn't stand a chance, Kenny.
Please. What you buying for? How many goals? I mean, how many disallowed goals? I think he scored more disallowed goals than goals this last season.
Joe.
He did, yeah.
He still gets Liverpool, though.
Yeah. He's gone through it mentally over the last couple of weeks, so we wish him well. But he had a fantastic 20 minutes in the last game, and I think that will do him the world of good going into the North London derby. And I'll tell you what.
Would you start him on Sunday?
I think he would be an excellent sub, because he is a player that is going to wind up your defence. And we know that the North London derby produces a number of red cards, and there might just be that moment where Richarlison just winds up one of the Arsenal defence. And
is Royale playing by any chance? I hope Emerson Royale's playing this Sunday. I hope he's playing Emerson Royale. Maybe you could bring on Dyer as well, because he's. Oh
no!
Oh, sorry. No. What Dyer will do? But one thing about Dyer, I just hope one of our fans don't slag him off or something, because he'll just run up in the stands and try.
Hit him. That's the fastest he ever ran.
Kenny, can I ask you? You mentioned about the goalkeeping situation earlier. Of course, it looked like in the summer that the Spurs were going to sign David Raya.
Yes.
Of course, Arsenal ended up signing David Raya. A lot of people, raised their eyebrows, thinking, "Well, Ramsdale's in there as number one."
Well,
Arteta.
I don't know. Maybe you were raising your eyebrows. You ain't watching us enough.
Well,
Ramsdale, if you want me to put it bluntly, Ramsdale is not a top class number one. He's above average.
Kenny, the thing is, though, Arteta in a recent press conference turned around and said that he may swap the goalkeepers during the game. What do you make of that?
Waffle. He's complete and utter waffle. Everyone knows that you don't rotate goalkeepers. I've never seen a goalkeeper getting rotated. You only have to go down the district line and go to Chelsea and see what happened there.
Yeah.
That Carlo Cucini, who played for you, he was an established number one. They got Petr Cech. Was there competition for places there? No, there wasn't. Petr Cech became the number one. In fact, he even played the cup games. The same thing when Courtois came back from Atletico Madrid. Petr Cech was established number one. Did Petr Cech playing in the games? No, he didn't. It's all Ramsdale's been dropped. End of. You can. There's a lot of Arsenal fans who love Aaron Ramsdale. They think his dad's Nick's a great time. They like to have Nick, his dad, on the podcast. It's a footballing decision, which I agree with. Ramsdale is not great with his feet. His distribution is very poor. In fact, if you look at some of the games where we lost the league, the common denominator is Ramsdale. Look at the Southampton game. Look at that. Yeah. Look at Fulham 2 weeks ago. Or even look at the Man United game where when you notice that when goalkeepers kick the ball out, one of the things that managers like, your manager and, Ange Postecoglou, can't even get me words out.
Yeah.
Ange Post.
It's not easy.
And obviously Arteta. One of the things that managers don't like is giving the opposition control of phases of play. For instance, when a goalkeeper kicks the ball out, if it goes straight to the opposition, they can start an attack. And that's what happened against Man United. A lot of that game, if you look at, there was one instance where he's kicked the ball out, they started an attack, he's had to make a save from Martial, and that's all come from his kick out. Now, if you look at Raya, he passes to a red shirt. And if he is going to kick it long, it goes straight to a winger. And I think that's the same reason why Joe Hart got bombed out by, Guardiola all those years ago. If you're a top-class goalkeeper, you're no good with your feet, you're not playing. So all this stuff about Ramsdale being linked with Bayern Munich and Chelsea, it's not going to happen unless he improves his distribution. I mean, if his distribution was top class, he'd be England's number one. He isn't. It's Pickford, and that's the thing. He's good enough to play for a team outside the top four, but within Liverpool, Arsenal, even Man United, definitely, Man City, he's not good enough to play for those teams. Raya is. We've got a proper number one now. Like, despite the fact that you had Lloris, he's making mistakes towards the end. He wasn't. Yeah. He was your leader. Obviously, age caught up with him. That's the prototype of goalkeeper big clubs need. Ramsdale don't fit that DNA.
Kenny, I take it you think that Raya will start against Spurs then on Sunday?
Raya's Arsenal's number one. Raya's Arsenal's number one. He's been signed to be Arsenal's number one, and then at the end of the season, when we pay the rest of the money to Brentford, he'll be our number one for many years to come. Ramsdale's dropped. There's no rotation. Not in a million years. No, I don't know any keeper who gets rotated. The last time I've seen keeper get rotated was Ron Greenwood did that in the 70s and 80s with Peter Shilton and Ray Clements. That was then. Never seen it before. Not going to happen.
Craig, let's come to you. Would you expect Ange Postecoglou to make any changes to the team that beat Sheffield United at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium last weekend?
To be honest, injuries aside, which I don't think we've got any at the moment, Touchwood, the only player I could see him swapping out, if he does want to go a bit more defensive, would be Porro and bring in the GOAT, Emerson Royale. That's the only change I think he'd make. I just can't see him changing it. I think Richarlison will be on the bench. I think you're right. I think he's a good sort of super sub, if you like. I just don't think he's going to make any changes, to be honest. No. I think we're going to miss Perisic coming on if we need him, because he's been phenomenal. Such a shame that he's done his ACL, but Brian Gill's on his way back, but I don't think he's going to make the squad for this. I think it's a bit early. So we're obviously a player like there, someone that can change it. And I'm sure you've seen Kenny Perisic has changed things when he's come on from the bench. In fact, all substitutes on the game at the weekend made a difference and won us that game. The one thing I hope they do change, what really winds me up, and I'm sure there's other managers, but Arteta does it all the time, seems to get away with it. He's stepping out of his bloody technical area. I know it's a minor thing, but it really gets on my nerves. I think he should be fitted. Any manager should be fitted with one of those electrical packs you get, and every time he steps out of it, it should buzz him and give an electric shock because it really winds me up. It really does. But that's a minor thing.
The referees have got Arteta's number. He's always getting spoken to. Even yesterday, he got spoken to. He's one of those things like, I think loads of coaches they're getting yellow cards now, isn't it? Yellow and reds now.
Yeah,
should be.
Well, whilst on the subject of referees, Rob Jones will actually officiate this game. He's taken charge of 53 Premier League games so far, but this will be his first London derby. Gary, what have you made of the of refereeing so far this season? Because of course VAR was meant to, it was introduced to really improve the game. Do you think it's improved the game? Do you like VAR? What have you thought of the standard of refereeing so far?
Well, God, how long have you got with that? I mean, it's just comical, really. I mean, look, I've said to a lot of Arsenal fans this week and fans of all different teams, and Sunday will be no different. There'll be controversy. There'll be bad referee decisions. There'll be VAR decisions that people won't understand why they've gone that way and not the other. Like, you literally don't know with the offside rule and handballs. I don't know whether we're coming or going. And regards to refs, I mean, this is the issue I have with at the Emirates. And don't get me wrong, they had it when they came to ours the other season as well. It's the fans, and the fans will get behind the ref, and I don't care what anyone says, they're influenced. And when Son can't remember, he got sent off, that was a very minor touch. Now, if that was at the Emirates, there's no way he's getting sent off. But at White Hart Lane, the Arsenal player's gone. And this is the problem we have. I can see Romero getting a red card, or a Tottenham player or something. There's going to be a lot of bookings, because when you go to the Emirates, and let's face it, every single supporter, whether they're 5 years of age or 8 years of age, know what that game means. And they're all up for it, and they're all going mental. And I don't care what referee it is, he's influenced by it. And as soon as VAR say to that ref, I think you should go and have a look at the monitor. That's it all day long. So I will bet a guess there will probably be quite a few bookings, the sending off, and there'll be a penalty, and there'll be lots of VAR decisions. So in regards to the North London derby, unfortunately, a lot of it is going to be about the referee decisions and VAR, and not as much about the actual football. And that will be the sad thing about Sunday, because I think everyone's expecting this great game and everything else. But what you're going to find is it's going to be spoilt slightly by the referees and by the VAR decisions. And it's been like that for most of the games. You've only got to look at Tottenham, Sheffield United. I mean, it was just absolutely ridiculous, that ref, for both teams, really. It was just absolute nonsense, And then you look at some of the decisions, even against Arsenal, they've had some of the decisions Arsenal have had this season. I'm a Tottenham fan, and you can laugh at it when it happens to Arsenal, in different clubs. But some of the decisions, mate, with the offside rule and handballs, it's comical, really. It really is comical. And what makes it worse is, after this North London derby on Sunday, you're going to have them coming out afterwards and apologising and saying they got that one wrong and they got this one wrong. And then on Monday at 11:30 on Ref Watch, you're going to hear him say it, where they got that decision wrong in the North London derby and they got that wrong. Whether that means we lose the game or nick a draw like we did against Chelsea, because that was another ridiculous decision. Yes, it went our way, but how can Romero pull him over by his hair and we still get a corner from that and score? Great, because it was for us, but that shows you how ridiculous VAR and refereeing is. And unfortunately, that's what a lot of the talk is going to be about on Sunday and Monday. So that's how I feel about the refs and VAR. Great if it goes your way, but when it doesn't, it's a real killer, and it hurts and it winds you up, especially when they come out afterwards and say, yeah, we got that one wrong. It's too late then, isn't it?
Kenny, what about you on the standard of refereeing in the Premier League? Is it good enough?
Well, the thing about VAR works in other countries. You know, our cousins in Europe seem to be doing all right, but the problem is that our referees are no longer the best in the world. We used to have some really, really good referees, but I think the thing with VAR, you can't put the genie back in the bottle, because before VAR, all we used to hear from fans, pundits, players, the referees need more help. So if you're asking for more help, you've got to have things like VAR, because I think the thing with football, we don't like changing football. We're very happy for it to happen in other sports. Like, for instance, cricket have had video technology for years. I mean, they've had it for about 30 years. So's rugby, but in football we don't like video technology. Let's trust the refs. But when the refs get it wrong, we're all up in arms. So I'm okay with VAR, because simple reason is that, at the end of the day, it's not great, but I would rather trust the accuracy of video technology than a layperson who's prone to make mistakes, because he's human. And that's why I'm a fan of it. It's not been great, but I think the reason why we're having problems with VAR in this country is because our referees are substandard. Even the best referees, the most known referees, still make mistakes, even with VAR. I promise you now, if you went to Italy, you went to Spain, you went to France or Germany, you won't have these problems with VAR, because their referees are better. They have the highest standards. You have to look at major championships. When was involving World Cups and European Championships? Some of the referees don't even get to to the knockout stages, because we're so good. And I think that's the thing with VAR. It's here to stay, and we just have to make it better. And if we can't make it better, make sure we get our referees are better, train them better. Make sure they're fit enough to get around the pitch. Make sure that that they are consistent. Make sure that there's no interpretation. Like the handball rule is one of the most frustrating rules ever. It's either handball or it isn't. Yeah. The ball's not meant to hit your hand. So if it's not meant to hit your hand, it doesn't matter if it's accidental. It's handball. It's simple. But the problem we're going to have on Sunday is, because it's a derby, referees want to let the game flow because it's a derby. And that's the thing. We can't have it both ways. We want referees to enforce the law, but we get frustrated that in a derby match, full-blooded derby with robust midfielders on both sides and pacey wingers and players like Romero, who loves a tackle. He's an Argentine. They love a battle. They're aggressive. Yeah. We want the game to flow. You know what I mean? And I think that's the problem. That's where we're going to be torn between let's say two lovers. We love aggressive North London football, tackles going in, passion, snarling. Arsenal fans snarling at Tottenham fans. They're snarling back. Let's meet you at Holloway Roads. Oh yeah. You wait till I get there. You ain't gonna be wearing that shirt when you walk down the gauntlet. We love that. We love that. I love it. Yeah. Old school. I love it. But But if you want to play down the letter of the law, then it's got to be a letter of law, and then you will have bookings and sending offs. So we're torn by it. And that's the reason why probably our referees aren't the greatest, because our fans love the game at a frenetic pace. Graham Souness has this football's a man's game, and we love that. And that's why we are going to have loads of inconsistencies. Abroad, if you raise your boots and you show your stats, that's a freak. That's a sending off. It's clear. In England, there's too much interpretation. No. Referees don't, bat for the same team, don't sing the same hymn sheet. Until you get them singing the same hymn sheet and they referee like they do in Europe, forget derby days, forget the Liverpool Man United, the big game, just go by the letter of law. I think we'll have less problems. VAR, we appreciate VAR, and we'll be like the rest of Europe, but we won't let that happen because we like our football passionate.
Kenny, you mentioned the fans singing there. I take it the Emirates still isn't very quiet then?
Oh, God. You used to say that about Highbury, didn't you? Say it's a library. Look, I think we've improved our atmosphere because I think I don't know, man. Should I mention the Ashburton Army.
Can I ask?
Ashburton Army. I think you two are going to start taking a mickey.
Let me ask you, Kenny. Let me ask you. When Spurs beat Arsenal 3-0 under Antonio Conte at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium,
I was there.
That atmosphere that evening. Have you ever witnessed anything like it?
Look, your fans always create a great atmosphere. That's why I always love North London derbies at the Emirates, because I love the fact. In a perverse sort of way, I used to love it at the old library when you used to have all the clock ends. I loved it. I loved the fact that in a 60,000 stadium, you had 15,000 fans. I loved it. It felt like a cup final.
Yeah.
So I love that atmosphere. And I like our fans to be the same, but you've got to remember, we at Arsenal, until last season, we've waited for the players to get us excited, to get us off our seats. Even at Highbury, there were certain games where if it's Spurs, then the passion takes care of itself. It was Man United. It was one of those games. I think for big games, that's when the sort of when the passion at the Emirates is, the atmosphere is fantastic. But you look at last season. I know it's only Bournemouth, but when we got that 97-minute equaliser from Reece Nelson, I'll tell you one thing: the whole stadium shook. I thought I was going to get crushed because there were so many bodies that, amongst us. But it depends on the opposition. Like, for instance, you can't tell me that Spurs fans, when they play Sheffield United, the atmosphere was buzzy. But it was probably buzzy towards the end of the game because you scored your equaliser in injury time and you scored your winning in injury time. So the stadium would have come off, the roof would have come off because of how the game dictated. But I know that when when Arsenal, Man United, Chelsea, West Ham, and Man City come over, the atmosphere takes care of itself. You hate West Ham, they hate you. You hate Arsenal, we hate you, and Chelsea. So I think that sometimes when you talk about atmospheres at grounds, it depends on the opposition. Sometimes I think Arsenal's no different. I don't watch Spurs. I wouldn't watch Spurs unless you're playing Arsenal, but there's no way you guys can tell me that every game at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, it's a white-hot atmosphere.
Oh, no. Far from it.
Yeah, you're right, Kenny. You're right. But you do watch this podcast. That'll do for us.
I always watch your podcast. I mean, the amount of times you've been in the car doing it. I mean, I thought my mate Lee Gunner. I thought Lee Gunner was the one who was the Datsun Lee. We should be calling you Datsun Chris, innit? The amount of times Datsun Chris. I just love it. I love it. These guys are in their warm houses, because they haven't gone to the away games. Here's you in the cold. I don't know. Do you stop? You must. I'll tell you, the amount of mileage you do, you must.
Kenny, I'll tell you what, the amount of times that the guests are sitting in their nice warm houses and they're late for the show.
Oh, I've noticed.
Craig and Gary, I'm going to ask you in a second your favourite North London derby moments. I just wanted to ask Kenny first. Kenny, obviously you were at the Emirates Stadium last night as Arsenal beat PSV 4-0 in the Champions League.
Best
wins so far in the Premier League against Nottingham Forest, Fulham, Man United, Everton, and a draw against Fulham. What are the Arsenal fans overall? What are they thinking ahead of this North London derby? Are you all confident that you're going to win, or are you worried about Spurs playing some good, entertaining football?
Well, the majority of Arsenal fans are very confident because they haven't read the memo regarding what's going on with Postecoglou. I still can't pronounce the name, but I'm going to call him the Post.
Big Ange,
Big Ange.
Yeah,
playing really good football because what they do is they go on experience. Because if you look at North London derbies, it's always gone with home form. Like you smash us at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, and we always beat at the Emirates. And I think the majority of Arsenal fans expect us to win because we're playing at home. Yeah, and because we know that our players are going to be really up for it because we won't accept anything less. To the extent that even Havertz, we're expecting Havertz if he starts. He has to be up to it as well. And that's one of the reasons why I think the majority of fans haven't read the memo yet. I'm cautious because I've seen you play. And I know what you could be capable of. But I'm more confident of us winning after what I saw last night, because we're back to playing some really good football. I think that first half was probably our best performance, even better than some of the games we played last season.
Yeah. Kenny, I'm going to ask you now, what's your score prediction?
2-1 Arsenal. I think it's going to be a good game. I think Craig and Gary are right. A referee is going to decide it. There's going to be some controversial moments.
Yeah.
There will be bookings. There'll probably be a sending off.
Yeah.
Romero, with players like, all right, Martinelli isn't going to be there because I think he's not going to be fit. So I think you're not going to be worried about his turn of pace, but you still got Saka. And I do think that it will be a situation where a couple of moments, refereeing decisions. I think that at the moment, Odegaard's playing really good football and he's got a goal in him. I think Jesus is back and he's going to test your defence, not just your centre-halves, but your whole back four, where you want to be able to be on the front foot, you want to invert. I think with Jason the team, you're going to do more defending than you would like. And then that's where I haven't seen enough of Spurs doing that. I've only seen you in attack and I've seen you on the front foot dominating games. The question and the litmus test is, what are you like on the back foot? What is Ange like on the back foot? What is Ange like under pressure? Because we're going to put you under a lot of pressure. We're going to come out like a train, mate, like a train. That's like the Gatwick Express. You're not going to know what hit you. If you can survive that and still come out the other end and win, I just have to put my hands up. That's the litmus test. And that's why I think that at the moment, I don't think you've got that in you from a defensive point of view, and that's why I think we'll win, because we're playing at home. At your ground, the way you're playing, you'll probably smash us to pieces, because home form seems to dictate in North London derbies.
Yeah.
Craig, let's come to you. Before I get your memories, I agree completely with Kenny. I was fairly confident going to the Emirates on Sunday, and when I watched that PSV game, I've got to admit, when it was 3-0, I switched it off and watched the Man United game. And then switched it back. It was 4-0. And then I got Kenny's email. I thought, oh, my God, this North London derby on Sunday. What's your score prediction?
I think, 2-2. I'm not even going to say why. I just think 2-2. I can't put us down to lose. Had I thought, like I say, last season I would have put us down to lose. I do rarely predict. I do try and be honest and say what I genuinely feel, but I think it's going to be a high-scoring draw against Arsenal on Sunday.
Right, Craig, let's relive some good times. What's your favourite North London derby moments?
I've probably got 3. I'm going to go in reverse order. I'll go number 3. Kenny's favourite, Eunice Cabal getting the winner all those years ago. That was probably an undeserved victory, if I'm brutally honest. I don't remember much about the game other than that I was going mad.
Hey, Xmas coming up. Xmas coming up now.
And number two would have to be the 4-4 when we came back, and the last minute, more or less last minute, I think it was Aaron Lennon, was it? And Modric hit the post and Aaron Lennon followed in. That was just phenomenal, absolutely unbelievable. Because again, we shouldn't have got anything out of that game, but we somehow did. But my favourite moment was another draw. Well, it ended in a draw, but it has to be Harry Kane's goal when he ripped his mask off. It was just I can't. The feelings I got when that goal went in, and I wasn't at the stadium. I wasn't lucky enough to be there, but you could feel it coming through the telly as you was watching. It was just the stadium roof came off, and
I was there.
It
mate.
was just phenomenal.
I was there.
Really, yeah. It was just phenomenal. I can't imagine what it was like. I mean, everything about that. The way Dele Alli didn't give up on the lost calls in the corner, backheeled it to Kane, cut inside, and just unleashed this shot. Used the defender and curled one round and come on off the post. It was just, we were top of the league for about 15 minutes, I think, and at that stage of the season, I think if we'd held on to that and won, I'm not saying we would have won the league because there's still work to do, but that was just a phenomenal moment.
That Harry Kane mask moment, I was actually there was a very posh fan in front of me, and I hugged him when Harry Kane scored, and he told me to calm down. And I thought, how on earth can you calm down when Tottenham have just scored against Arsenal in the North London derby? My God, Gary, I'm sure you've got a few memories.
Oh yeah, there's so many. I mean, I wish there was more, but I'll try and change it up a little bit from what Craig's done. But I will throw in the Harry Kane mask one because it was just absolutely amazing. I don't really need to say anything else. But I'll change it up a little bit because I think the season before last, I was in the South Stand when we completely sort of controlled them from start to finish and beat them 3-0 and stopped them getting top 4 in our back door and then going on and nicking top 4 off them. I mean, that atmosphere at the stadium in that 3-0 game, and to win it like we did, and to get their players sent off for something very minimal, but Son was very clever and stuff, that just felt great because it wasn't just turning them over, controlling them, and just outplaying them and just being over clever for them. It was stopping them getting top 4. So that was really sweet. I'll go for a couple more. I'd say slightly
You carry on. You carry on for as long as you like.
So this one's slightly different. I won't go for the 3-2 comeback. I won't go for the 4-4 draw, although I've watched them many times. And out of two, I actually preferred the draw rather than the win in those games. But I'm going to go for the Hugo Lloris save right at the end. And then when it comes back in, and I don't know if it was Jan that managed to get it over the bar and stuff?
Yeah.
I mean, I was behind the goal and wow, when I think about that, that was like, it was almost like a win. It was absolutely amazing. But there is only one winner. And you need to be of a certain age to remember this winner. And I was 16 years of age. I had bought a ticket off an Arsenal tout outside in 1991 for the semi-final. And I paid £50. And at the time, I was on £1 an hour stacking shelves. So my boss said to me, I'll give you the money, but you've got to work 50 hours to pay it back. And I went, yeah, I'm happy to do that. So I paid the Arsenal tout £50, which was the best £50 I ever spent in my life. I hadn't even seen £50 before. I walked into Wembley that had the Twin Towers. And as I'm walking down, I saw a certain Paul Gascoigne walk up from about 37.5 yards away from out of goal, kick that ball and left David Seaman on the floor crying and picking up the ball. And I probably saw one of the best free kicks ever scored in Wembley in my life. And that is why I absolutely love Tottenham Hotspur, because beating Arsenal in the semi-final in 1991 is why I love my club and always will. Because that, for me, although I was at the cup final and we beat Nottingham Forest and I paid £100 for a ticket, I would have paid £500 for that semi-final ticket. Because beating Arsenal 3-1, the way we beat them with a team at the time, we're going for the double, who were brilliant. And a Tottenham side that was struggling for money, who had to sell Paul Gascoigne at the end of the season because we had so much money problems. That will always be the best North London goal ever scored by a Tottenham player in my life so far. And I absolutely love Paul Gascoigne and Tottenham Hotspur for it. Love it.
Jesus Christ, we'll build up like that. I mean, Jesus Christ. I mean, I know I'm a guest in your house and your lovely home, but Jesus Christ, you're meant to be nice to your guests.
I was going to say, Kenny, I don't think it's appropriate for us to ask you your favourite memories in the North London derby.
It is.
Is it? We'll give you 15 seconds.
All right. You're not going to like this. And I'm sorry, Gary. I'm sorry, Craig.
No,
I know you remember this. 1987 semi-finals. Half time, Clive Allen put you 1-0 up.
Yeah.
And the Spurs ticket man was announcing tickets for the Little Cup final against Liverpool.
No.
He announced tickets. And because you were 2-0 up on aggregate, Clive Allen scored a goal at Highbury.
Yeah, I
and
remember.
We won 2-1. And then in the replay, we won 2-1 there. So that's a great memory. I've got another perverse one as well. Lamini.
I bet you have.
2-1 in the League Cup.
Yeah.
I didn't even know he had it in him. We didn't know it in him. But that was a great memory. But obviously the best memory for me in terms of an Arsenal Spurs game.
We know it.
Was actually you were 2-0 up at the Emirates in 2012, we were absolutely rubbish then. That's when I really wanted Arsene Wenger to just disappear off the face of the earth.
Yeah.
In footballing terms, of course. And we won 5-2. When Adi Bayor and Zaha scored to put you 2-0 up. Adi Bayor was playing for you, bloody traitor. Hate him, never absolute traitor, not forgiven. And then we came back because you were actually playing a better football then. And I thought when you went 2-0 up, I thought you could have got another third. I think you actually missed a chance to win, but that was a great game. But I could always add another one where
when you won the league.
No, Adi Boyle put you 1-0.
Oh, don't encourage it.
No, but one more. Let me have one more because I'm against. It was a game where you should have thrashed us at the Emirates because you played beautiful football. It was probably your best performance. You went 1-0 up. Adi Boyle put you 1-0 up, and then he got sent off, and then we went and won 5-2. That was just mega. If you had 11 men, I'll tell you now, you would have smashed us. You would have thrashed us because you're playing probably you're playing superb football. It was out of this world. You were murdering us, and then he got himself sent off, and that was it. We won 5-2. So those are favourite moments.
Yeah,
Kenny, I don't want to remind you about one, but one of the, I hate to say this, but I'm a polite person. One of the best goals I've seen was the Henry one where he dribbled past and Jamie Redknapp was left in his wake and he just ran half the length of the pitch. I mean, that was a fantastic goal.
Oh yeah, Henry. I think Henry's the best player we ever had. But the thing is, I know you got Arsenal fans, friends. Arsenal fans as friends, and I don't. Bergkamp is the best player I've ever seen. And you can't argue that. I mean, I've got the best of both worlds. If someone says Henry's the best Arsenal player, I'll say of course. If I say Bergkamp, I'll say I can't argue. So it's
two amazing players. It has to be said.
Like for me, the best Spurs player I've ever seen in terms of natural ability is Glenn Hoddle. Glenn Hoddle, amazing. I've ever seen. In fact, the best manager you ever had outside Nicholson is Keith Birkinshaw. I don't know why Spurs fans call a potch. He never won anything. Keith Birkinshaw won 2 FA Cups and the UEFA Cup. Why is he never mentioned? Why is he never mentioned? In that?
I 100% agree with you, Ken. I agree with you 100%.
Yeah,
Kenny,
I always like Venables. So
Kenny, Mark's asking, do Gooners like Pat Jennings?
Yes, we love Pat Jennings because Pat Jennings is a gentleman. We respect the fact that Pat Jennings loved your club, that he was still had Spurs dripping down his veins. But when he played for us for 8 years, he gave us exemplary service, and he's always welcome at Arsenal.
Yeah, professional.
For instance, George Graham is the best ever Arsenal manager we ever had. He's better than Wenger. I'm telling you now on this show. Yeah, George Graham can't get a statue at Arsenal. Why? The three iconic managers that Arsenal ever had: George Graham, Herbert Chapman, and Arsene Wenger. Only 2 of them got statues. Why?
Maybe because he went to Tottenham, though, George Graham. That might be why.
But he didn't leave Arsenal to go to Tottenham. He got sacked by Arsenal and he joined you from Leeds. He won you one of your very few trophies. So yeah. But the situation is that I look at George Graham and I think that if you guys, what I don't understand about Spurs fans is that you accept Pat Jennings when he left Arsenal, he left Spurs to go to Arsenal. You'll never forgive Sol Campbell. I get it why you hate him, but wasn't Pat Jennings joining Arsenal just as bad as Sol joining us, or was it?
I think it was the way it came about, Ken. I think with Sol Campbell there was a lot more dishonesty and lying, and he sort of deceived a lot of the fans and stuff. Whereas Pat Jennings and when it's happened before, they've been a lot more open and upfront. I think Sol Campbell, the way he did it, was very sneakily and snide. And I think also, since doing all of that, he still plays the victim now. But, your card's marked, mate. And you knew when you were in that...
Look, I'm with you on this because at the end of the day, any Arsenal player that goes to Tottenham, I will never forgive.
But I don't think there's anything wrong, Ken, with a player going from Arsenal to Tottenham, whatever else. If everything's out in the open and people know what's going on. But I think the argument with Sol Campbell and with Spurs fans and why it eats away at me is he misled the fans, the manager.
It was the way it was done. Yeah.
It was very, very underhand and sneaky.
Yeah, but is it because? But you know, like he was your captain and he was like your leader, and he was sort of the person you want to build a team around. Is it because he always came across when he was at your club as Mr. Tottenham? You know, like Levy King's a Tottenham man. I always saw Sol Campbell when he was with you guys. I always saw him as a Tottenham man. Like, and I always thought Teddy Sheringham was a Tottenham man. Because you know, like when Sol Campbell left Tottenham, we knew he was going to leave Tottenham. There was rumours going about that he was going to join, that he was looking at houses in Manchester. That's what I heard at the time.
Yeah,
and we heard rumours that he was going into Milan. He was going to AC Milan. Look, I was just as shocked as you when he came to us. I was stunned.
I think though, Ken, not a lot of Spurs fans would admit this, but I think if he went to Arsenal and wasn't successful, maybe the grudge wouldn't be as big. And I do feel that plays a part in it. But I would say ultimately it was the dishonesty in the way that he went about and did it. But if he had gone to Arsenal and wasn't successful in the years that he was there, I think a lot more fans would have forgiven him, and probably me as well. So I have to hold my hands up and say part of that resentment and anger for him is because he did do so well at Arsenal. And I'm man enough and old enough and ugly enough to admit that. But I will say it's 50 him being dishonest in the way he went about it, and 50 that he did so well at Arsenal.
You know the situation is. I mean, that's probably why Daniel Lee never sells to a big club, or even because remember he became Tottenham chairman at that time, innit? He was Tottenham chairman at the time, and Sol left on a free. So I get where you're coming from, because it is the greatest act of treachery for for anything. It's like Spurs, I repeat, are our rivals. It's not Man United. It's not Chelsea. No. Spurs. I hate Tottenham because I've been brought up to hate Tottenham.
And we don't do business. We, Arsenal do business with Chelsea and X, Y, and Z, but, we don't do business, Tottenham and Arsenal. And for good reason.
Look, modern fans who don't understand the rivalry, all they look at is the football, the position of both teams. They don't get the geography. But the reason why...
No, they don't know the history.
Yeah, but the reason why is because of TV, there's a diaspora of fans from France. Like, for instance, we got Arsenal fans. Not all, a lot of our fans come from Hertfordshire, Wales. A lot of our fans are abroad. All over the park. So we have to teach them the history. They don't get it, but some of them get ingrained. But they've seen Arsenal challenging Man United under Fergie and Wenger, and they've seen the Chelsea thing. So they think, well, how can you be rivals in Tottenham when they don't get it? It's history. For instance, it annoys me when Spurs fans say, call us Woolwich Arsenal. It really frustrates me. I'm a North London boy. How can you tell me that Arsenal not a North London club when all I've ever known, being born and bred in Islington, brought up in Holloway, Finsbury Park, Andover Estate, Crouch Hill, Seven Sisters Road, you're telling me that Arsenal's not a North London club? That is like a swear word to me, because you are a North London club. You know what I mean?
What a way to end the show, talking about Sol Campbell. I'll tell you what, Kenny, we're going to have to get you back. We're going to have to get you back on the channel very, very soon.
Hopefully, it'll be interesting what position we are. But last time we played Spurs, around near the end of the season, both teams are going for the top four. I'm telling you now, if that's the best Arsenal can do, Arteta might as well take one of my Oyster cards, get himself down to Heathrow Airport, Terminal 5, and get the hell out of here. Because at the end of the day, with that team, you need to challenge the trophy. I've got a ton of Oyster cards. I know. Is it Heathrow Airport? So is it zone 5 or zone 6? He don't win a trophy. Here's my Oyster card. Get on the Piccadilly line. You're not getting.
I can take him, Ken, because I live right next to Heathrow. I'm only around the corner, so I can.
You can give him a lift. You can give him a lift to where he wants to go, because he's at. Yeah. I want. Don't come back unless you win a trophy, Mikel.
No, I can pick Sol Campbell up on the way as well. I don't mind.
Oh, don't mention that guy's name again on here.
I'm sorry. I don't want to mention it. I'm apologise.
No, you're all right, mate.
Kenny,
you're all right.
Kenny, thanks so much for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure.
It's a pleasure to be on the channel. It's nice to meet Craig, to actually do a podcast with Craig and Gary. I've seen your rants, Gary. Craig, I've seen you like little smirk in the corner with bloody here he goes again. But, and I've seen I've heard Fat Boy, innit? I mean, sometimes he's like Wi-Fi ain't the best.
No,
he's on after the Arsenal game on Sunday.
Oh well, tell him, give him my regards, and say it was nice to see him with Cindy Beale.
Yeah.
Kenny, thanks so much.
Say hello to Rubberface, Britain's Got Talent guy.
Darren. Yeah.
Darren. Yeah.
Well, Kenny, it's been a pleasure having you on. Thank you so much. And Craig, thanks so much for coming on. Where can people find you?
Yeah, on Twitter if you want to. Or it's not called. I keep on the Twitter. It's X, and yeah, at DM9 is in the name there at the bottom. If you want to give me a follow, that's lovely. Kenny, absolute legend, real nice chap, and a realistic and pretty normal Arsenal fan. And so you do exist. So yeah, that's great.
we were supporting Arsenal when we had Terry Neal and Dial.
Well, we do. You get it because you do think. I'll make Gary right. You watch AFTV, and you think everybody's like Troops, and you're clearly not, are you? So lovely.
I know he's a great guy, but I think what's happened is that I think there's a generation amongst us. I'm not sure I get some of his street lingo sometimes.
You can't diss Troops because when I met him at the Content Awards, he said he watches this channel sometimes as well. And so
he was a lovely fella. He was a top guy, wasn't he?
You know what? We all watch your channel. When I tell some of my friends that I'm coming on Chris Cowlin's show, everyone watches you guys. Everyone watches you guys. Troops, all of us watch you because the simple reason is that the way you guys talk about your club, I see passion. I see passion. I see frustration. And I felt it on the Arsene Wenger. I felt I was Wenger out. So I get it. I get the situation. If you cut you guys, you come out blue and white. I get it. You know, and you hate Arsenal, and I hate Tottenham. So good. It's good.
Yeah.
And Gary, lastly, thanks so much for coming on. Where can people find you?
Yeah, Chris, as usual on your show, jumping on Instagram, TikTok, winding up as many Arsenal fans as I can, because I absolutely love doing that. And if we do somehow get a result on Sunday, which I think is very unlikely, I'll be all over social media to wind them up. But I will just touch on what Ken said. Troops, Lee Gunner, Robbie, when I met them all, I think you have to understand that, social media and YouTube and stuff, it's a business, it's a show. Yeah. And what you see on camera is sometimes very different what you see off camera. And they're all just down-to-earth guys at the end of the day. And
Troops is a lovely fella. Troops
exactly. Troops was chatting away to me, and he was like, look, Gal, my missus is a Tottenham fan. It drives me mad, And I was laughing with him about it. And Ken, listen, look, you're of a generation where you're an old school Arsenal fan, so you go right back and you get it. So you've seen the bad times, the good times. You've read the wave. So I respect that. And annoyingly, you're another Arsenal fan I quite like.
Hey, look, I'm going to tell you something now. I used to love watching Aussie Ardiles play. I used to always respect Aussie Ardiles and Villa for the football. Hated them because they always play well against Arsenal. But, football's football. And I think that's when you get some, I'm 51 now. So basically, I've seen it all.
Yeah.
Well, Kenny Craig.
I'd say Bergkamp for me was one of the best players. I loved his game and how he played. Absolutely amazing. Killed me. He never came to Spurs, but it is what it is.
He's a Tottenham fan as well.
No, is he?
Yeah. He's a Tottenham fan.
I didn't. Is he really?
Yeah. Bergkamp, Vinnie Jones was a Spurs fan. Roy Keane was a Spurs fan. All these players you could have had.
I didn't know he was a Tottenham fan.
We could talk to you all night, Kenny. We'll definitely get you back on the channel very, very soon. Kenny, Craig, Gary, thanks so much for joining me. Thanks for watching, everybody. Thanks for listening. And we will see you at the Emirates after, hopefully, Tottenham have beaten Arsenal on Sunday. Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs. Cheers, lads.